Hi everyone, I am Vikas. I am doing my MBA in Maritime and Logistics in University of Tasmania. So today I am going to discuss about K-curve methodology, which is used in inventory management. So these are the couple of focus points that I am going to cover in this presentation. The points were weakness of Pareto and EOQ model, history of K-curve, how to generate a K-curve, and why it is so useful. Before going into these points, let us discuss about inventory, why it is so important in this today's world. Inventory plays a vital role in any business, and especially when it comes to the retail industry or manufacturing industry and etc. If the business don't have a good handle on the inventory, it will affect the business. So don't let the inventory in excess or shortage cause the business. So it is important to maintain good level of inventory in order to succeed in the business. Some business don't want to have the excess inventory taking up space in warehouse unnecessarily. Too much inventory can trigger profit or losses. Whether a product expires, gets damaged, or goes out of season. So some products completely depend upon the season. So if we maintain the high level of inventory of the products which are only based on the seasonal, it will be a big loss for the companies if those products are not sold within that season. So they can't keep those products until the next season. There may be a expiry date for that products, so it is very difficult and it reduces the profit level of the business. So key to proper inventory control is deeper understanding of customer demand for the products. So now let us start with weaknesses of Pareto and EOQ, because in this today's world every operational manager is facing a big question is how to demand a optimum inventory level. We can determine the cycle stock and the safety stock for individual items by using the Pareto or the inventory matrix or EOQ. Every tool have their own ways in determining the optimum level stock. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, but in the real world, the weaknesses that remains the key barrier to their effective application in an operation management. So now let us look at the weaknesses. So the weaknesses of EOQ. The first weakness of the EOQ is it needs to know the cost of ordering and the cost of holding inventory. By seeing both these values, we can quickly say that it is very difficult to determine these values. In case if these values are not clearly known or not clearly determined, the exactness in the EOQ cannot be calculated accurately. It also relies on the assumption that demand is constant. As I said before, the demand won't be constant at all. It keep on changing on different variables. So outer variables going to affect the demand every time. EOQ is not useful when the prices are fluctuating. If the EOQ is demand dependent, it may lead to irregular orders placing the vendor. Items purchased to order and the items subjected to rapid production improvement will be restricted from EOQ to use. Critical supply items will be ordered in greater than normal quantities. The time of supply of quantities selected will override EOQ. These are the couple of weaknesses in the EOQ, and now let us look at the weaknesses of Pareto. The first and the the first weakness of the Pareto is it divides the whole population into three groups: In many businesses, simply dividing into three groups is not sufficiently detailed. It forces a predetermined percent into each class regardless of what appropriate for each item. The fundamental principle of Pareto is correct. It says the important few have to be closely managed and the low value many are infrequently replenished with long inventory coverage. But these leads to too many unconnected decisions, and it is too simple for anything other than a simple business, because the small businesses and the simple businesses can somewhat rectify these issues, but when it comes to any big businesses, it is very difficult for them to control these kind of decisions. The day of supply for all the classes is arbitrary, with the first 20% irrespective of what they are getting the lowest day of cover. And unlike the EOQ, Pareto also depend upon the assumptions, saying that makes an assumption that demand is constant over 12 months, but the effect of this is more serious than the effect on EOQ. This kind of assumptions more likely affect the Pareto compared to the EOQ. So these are the couple of weaknesses in Pareto. So history of the K-curve. Here comes the need of the K-curve. So K-curve methodology is not a new method. It has been used since the early of 1990s. The approach was developed by the Shah during his part of PhD in collaboration with the planning staff at IBM's Harvard manufacturing plant. So one of the finance manager was asked a question, what does it cost to place an order? He took some time to answer this question, and he said it can be between 1 to 100. The response set off the train of thought that concluded that we are trying to solve the wrong problem. It was already known that 2c by I in the EOQ equation can be treated as constant k. So why not simply vary k value or the constant k between 1 and 100 and look at the result? Thus, the K-curve was created and methodology was born. The methodology was used to set the MRP parameters for IBM Harvard plant in 1990s and won awards within IBM for its innovation. After this, they have conducted 4 case studies on the current practices and looked into the effect of K-curve on the planning process. Then after, they mastered this methodology. So now let us look how to generate a K-curve. The 3 stages of K-curve are expressing the EOQ as an economic period. The second stage is building a bridge between Pareto and EOP, that is economic order period. And the third stage is the variation of K to create an exchange curve. So let us start with stage 1. What is the stage 1? The first step in the stage 1 is to substitute K for 2c by I in the formula of EOQ. Next step, convert EOQ to an order period by dividing the annual demand quantity that will give EOP in days. So it will be better to work EOP in days instead of years. Otherwise, it will be difficult to understand. It can be done by using 250 working days in a year based on 5 working days in a week. The final substitution leaves us with a very simple formula for the EOP in days. For this simple formula, we can determine the average inventory held. If we know the order period, we also know how many deliveries we'll get in a year. So let us look at the Excel sheet. I will show you the Excel sheet that I'm working with. And so this is the Excel sheet for the 200 parts. So here you can see the count, the part number, annual demand or usage, and cost per part. So these four will be the given ones, and the working days is 250, and we are now calculating K equals to 30. So annual spend value, in order to calculate the annual spend value, this is the formula that I have used. So once you enter this formula into the shell, you will be getting in a value, and you can select this, and if you drag this down like this, you can get the value for all the 200 parts. This is the value that I got for all the 200 parts. So let us look how to calculate the EOQ and EOP. So here I calculated both EOQ and EOP. The formula that I have used for calculating the EOP is, here is the formula you can use for calculating the EOQ, and see what are the things it involved. So look at here, the square root of B1. So here the B1 is constant, you can see it here, into annual usage divided by the cost per part. So you will be getting the EOQ value. So once you get the EOQ value for the first part, as I said before, just select the shell and drag it down so that you will be getting all the values for the 200 parts. So how the EOP is calculated? So this is the formula that I have used for the EOP. You can see it at the top, and these are the things that are used in calculating the EOP. So here B2, the working days is kept as constant, and square root of B1 is also kept as constant, and it is both were divided by annual spend value. So once you got the value of EOP for first cell, you can drag it down and you will be getting all the values for 200 parts. So this is the first part, or the stage 1 of the K curve. So look at the second stage. So these are the formulas that I have used for generating or calculating the EOQ. So the actual formula of the EOQ is this one. The Q equals to root of 2 into D into C by P into I. So this 2 into C by I is replaced with the K, or substitute with the K. So it leaves as a simplified EOQ is root of KD by P. So these are the simplified formula that I have used over here. So what is the stage 2? Building a bridge between the Pareto and EOP. The next step applies the EOP calculation to all the parts in the groups being managed. So in the stage 2, we will be calculating the annual spend value, and in the stage 2 we will be calculating the class limit, and we will be dividing them into groups like Pareto. The class limit represents the point at which it would be most economical to switch from class 1 and an order of 5 days to class 2 and an order cycle of 10 days. So in stage 2, we can look at the days I will show the Excel sheet that I have calculated, how we will be calculating these class limit and the value class, and how we will be dividing them into the groups. So this is the Excel sheet as I showed you before. Here are the value, cycle and class days. So the value cycle I kept for 9 classes. I have divided the 9 groups, and class days were 5 days, 10 days, 20, 40, 80 and 160. So now we will be calculating the class limit. For calculating the class limit, this is the formula that I have used for calculating the class limit. So value class, the formula. So once we get a class limit, now we have to calculate the value class. So the formula that I have used for the value class is this one. It looks a big one, but we need to enter it, otherwise we won't get the proper value of the value class. So once you get the value class for the first one, just drag it down, so you will be getting value class for all the parts. So calculate the cycle days by using the formula. This is the formula that I have used for calculating the cycle days. You can see the formula at the top, and once you got this one, simply drag it down. You will be getting for all the 200 parts. So these are all the values that I got for 200 of. So these are the things. Yep. And now let us go back to stage 3. So we have calculated the EOQ, EOP, and we have separated them with the value classes by keeping some class limits. So here are like how we calculated the class limit. The stage 3. So the stage 3 is about the creation of K curve. This is the final stage of generating a K curve. Like Pareto exchange curve, here also we use same techniques for calculating the average inventory and number of orders. We can then sum the total of average inventory and number of orders, which will help in obtaining the K curve. Now we vary the K value from 1 to 100 as I show here. For example, the K can be varied like 1, 500, like 10, 20, 30, 40 and so on till 100, but the K value should be between 1 and 100 only. So this is done after we are calculating the average inventory and number of orders for K is equal to 30. So I have started with K is equal to 30. You can take whatever the value you want, it's up to you. So after getting the average inventory and number of orders, you need to sum up all the values of average inventory and number of orders. So values of both average inventory and number of orders are tabled for drawing a K curve. If we observe these values closely, we can identify that as number of deliveries increase, the inventory decreases. Like, I will show the Excel sheet for this stage 3. Number of orders and average inventory. So here how I calculated the average inventory and number of orders. So this is the formula that I have used for calculating number of orders, and this is the formula that I have used for the average inventory. So once you got this value, so simply drag it down, you will be getting value for all the parts. So at last you need to total these values, the number of orders and average inventory. So now you have to calculate the values for different K values. So I calculated for K 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 and 100. So for K is equal to 10, these are the values that I got for number of orders and average inventory. And when K is equal to 20, these are the values that I got for them. And K is equal to 30 and K is equal to 40 and K is equal to 60. Have you observed one thing here? Like when the number of orders are increasing, the average inventory is decreasing. Okay. So see this one. So this is for K is equal to 100. So see here, the number of orders were 1800. The average inventory value was 87,000 euros. So if you see here, the orders were increased and the inventory value got decreased, the average inventory value. So once you got values for all these, K is equal to 1, K is equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80 and 100, you now have to table these values. So K value is 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 100. So these are the couple of like K values that I have calculated. For K value 1, I got the number of orders as 7,200 and average inventory is 33,000 euros. So as I said before, you can clearly see here now. So as the number of orders is decreasing, the average inventory value is increasing. And so you always have to order the number of orders, like you should increase the number of orders so that the average inventory level will be in the low. So after getting these values, just select these both the values, keeping the number of orders as an x axis and average inventory as an y-axis. Just generate this by using the insert. Once you select those ones, you can, sorry, what's happening? Yeah, so once you select those values, you can use the different charts which are good for, looks good for you. So it's up to you. So here comes the final K curve that I got for the values. So why it is so useful? As I said before, it is the combination of the strengths of both EOQ and Pareto in order to resolve the weaknesses of Pareto and EOQ. It solves the EOQ weakness. Instead of needing to find the number of ordering and cost holding, we now need to determine the number of batches and or a target inventory level. So it also solves the Pareto weakness, as the value class table is created in K curve, which allows more subdivisions and allocates the order size on an economic order principle rather than just allowing the lowest order size to the first 20%. What is also significant is that if the K value is varied, the population in each group will alter. For example, with K set to 50, there are number of class parts, class 1 parts, which says that when K is equal to 50, it is appropriate for your business not to order any parts on weekly basis. This differs from Pareto approach, which advises that the first 20% will always be on the lowest order cycle, typically 5 days ordering or whatever the policy chosen for class A parts, because all the classes in the Pareto like class A, B, C will be having the fixed days for ordering. For example, the class A products will be frequently ordered for every 5 days or every 20 days for class B and every 60 days for class C. So whenever it comes to the K curve, there is no need of ordering the products like that. It complete, so we are getting the clear value of all the parts that we had in our warehouses. So we can also clearly know what is the needed value of that stock. So it will be easy for us to understand. It is better to use the K curve instead of the Pareto and EOQ. So here comes. Thank you so much. If you got any doubts with anything, please leave a comment below. I think I will try my level best to answer those questions. And if you had any doubts with the Excel or any doubts with the topic or about the K curve or about the EOP or about the Pareto, just leave a comment below, so I will answer to those questions as soon as possible. Thank you so much.